This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, Theologist, New South Wales, Australia. The time's 3:10 p.m, 13th of the 8th, 2018, excuse me. We're up to Galatians chapter 6 in our series of Galatians. We're using jw.org to be fair to the Jehovah Witnesses. Let's begin.
Chapter 6. Brothers, even if a man takes a false step before he is aware of it, you who have spiritual qualifications, try to readjust such a man in a spirit of mildness. But keep an eye on yourself, for fear you too may be tempted.
Now, what's the temptation here? The ultimate temptation of Galatians is, don't be tempted into thinking that there's anything you need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. Because that's the root of the problem.
Go on carrying the burdens of one another, and in this way you will fulfill the law of the Christ.
So the burden is to fulfill the law of Christ, which is to love one another as yourself, but also not to fall into the trap of thinking there's something you need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. Just another point here about being tempted. I've worked with ministers. There's only one or two in my experience that started when things were happening in the church. I had an assistant take off with a lady that was in a foundation group. Very embarrassing situation. And what I noticed was these ones seemed to ask questions that cross boundaries. You can smell them, you can sniff them out. And yeah, he got asked to go. He changed overnight, that bloke. He just wasn't right, you know. Knew him for years and years. And what were his rules that he thought he needed to keep? Because somehow or other, when these people have rules, now that I think about it, they think you need to live up to their expectations. And if you're not meeting their expectations, being legitimate or not, they start to punish you. They start to get you in trouble. So I just thought I'd throw that in. I don't share much personal stuff. I tell you what, it was a wild ride, folks.
For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he is deceiving himself.
Again, what is it that would make you think you're something when you're nothing? Do you remember what Jesus said? He who loves his life will lose it, but he who loses his life will save it. When you think you're something, you're still thinking that there's something you can do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. You've moved out of the voluntary arena. You've moved out of the arena where everything's okay into a place where you're thinking you can do something to change things between yourself and God, but you can't. All you have is what Jesus has done for you.
But let each one examine his own actions, and then he will have cause for rejoicing in regard to himself alone, and not in comparison with the other person.
And that's got everything to do with conscience, hasn't it? We all have a conscience, and some people's consciences take longer to work. Some people have a conscience but never are able to correspond with that, which is very, very sad, or they're in and out of it. They have moments where they're going good and then moments where they fail. And that does take a lot of understanding on our parts. It's so easy to jump to the gun on these people. But in the long run, people do have to carry their own load because that's how we grow and mature. And elders and leaders need to be careful not to interfere and cross boundaries where they don't belong. What you find is within the Jehovah Witnesses is if they can't get control of a situation, they shun you. They haven't got the capacity to stay open enough. And remember, churches are a public place. People can come and sit. But they'll shun you in their fear that they might fail themselves. Okay? That's all that shunning is.
For each one will carry his...
Shunning is a fear that they'll fail themselves. So they push you away because they're not sure themselves. They haven't got the confidence that Paul's talking about here. They haven't got the ability to discern. They're frightened of being deceived themselves because they're not sure themselves, and that's why they shun. They've got to blame someone to help themselves feel safe.
Own load. Moreover, Let anyone who is being taught the Word share in all good things with the one who gives such teaching.
And that would be investigating in the ministry and the life and the death and the burial and resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ, primarily.
Do not be misled. God is not one to be mocked. For whatever a person is sowing, this he will also reap.
Now, you've got to be careful here, viewers, because this is a passage that gets used like a dangling carrot. They dangle this passage. They don't even know what it's talking about. The whole context so far has been, and you should be able to tell me, on the one hand, those that think they need to do or not do something to make God happy or stop him from being sad, and on the other hand, those that have accepted what Christ has done as being all sufficient for time and eternity. The comparison here is the ones that are, and he's going to tell us, you watch this.
Because the one sowing with a view to his flesh.
Now, what's a view to his flesh? Please, you should know by now, it's not your body and it's not the list, it's the problem. And the problem is thinking that there's something you need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. That's sowing to the flesh, because eventually the seed is going to germinate. The seed is going to manifest. And the problems are going to come out. Now, it may not happen for years, but it will happen.
Will reap corruption from his flesh. But the one sowing with a view to the Spirit will reap everlasting life from the Spirit.
Now, that's not a comparison as to someone that will be saved or lost. It's a comparison as to somebody that's going to fall prey to their sinful nature and begin to do things that they don't know they're doing but they hate, and they can't work out why they're doing it. Well, I've given you the answer over and over again. And the ones that are going to have a much easier experience to eternal life, till they get to eternal life.
So let us not give up in doing what is fine, for in due time we will reap, if we do not tire out.
Now, what are we not tiring out from, viewers? Believing that what Jesus has done is enough. Now, you'd think it was the contrary, wasn't it? But that's it. It's just staying focused on the cross. Because remember the argument, are you so foolish? Having begun in the Spirit, knowing what Christ had done, to be working in the flesh. Oh, it's so simple once you get it, but it's so important.
So then, as long as we have the opportunity, let us work what is good toward all, but especially toward those related to us in the faith.
Now, sorry guys, I got a little bit muddled up there, but see this passage here, verse 10. Let's just see if we can get a bit more.
Work what is good toward all, but especially toward those related to us in the faith.
Now that last part of the verse, that gives exclusivity, and we've got to be careful of this as well, to people that are still in, say, the organisation. They use it to protect the organisation to the exclusion of people that they're supposed to be loving. And it's very, 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 very connected to the shunning that goes on in religious organisations, because again, it's exalting those that are inside the organisation on the shallow level, instead of seeing that it's communal in the sense of those that are maintaining the message of the finished work of Christ. Right, sorry, let's go back.
See with what large letters I have written you with my own hand. All those who want to make a good impression in the flesh are the ones who try to compel you to get circumcised, doing so only to avoid being persecuted for the torture stake of the Christ. For even those who are getting circumcised do not keep the law themselves.
They don't keep the law themselves, and that's the point, isn't it? These people that think there's something that you need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad, they're just not doing it themselves. And I don't say that critically, I say that compassionately. And I do ask you to be aware of this. These people are suffering from mindsets and religious beliefs that are just impossible for themselves and for everybody else.
but they want you to be circumcised so that they may have cause for boasting about your flesh.
Now see where he says boasting about your flesh. This is what I said earlier. The ones that can't do it want others to fail as well. And when you're in an organization based on these things, all you see is failure and oh, it's so disappointing. It becomes so twisted because the ones that are failing want others to fail as well. Now, the sinful nature inside us knows that that can only happen in one way. And that's by people thinking that there's something they need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. Because that's where the sinful nature gets its power, and that's where it's all going to come undone. Isn't it? So they're jamming into you. Do this and do that, or don't do this and don't do that, and it all just goes to pieces, and it gives them a pedestal to stand on while you're collapsing.
But may I never boast, except in the torture stake of our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom the world has been put to death with regard to me, and I with regard to the world. For neither is circumcision anything, nor is uncircumcision, but a new creation is.
Now, what's the new creation? You should know by now. Just simply accepting and believing in what Jesus did with no demands, no compulsion, no nothing, no works, no nothing, that it is enough for your peace between you and God for time and eternity.
As for all those who walk orderly by this rule of conduct, peace and mercy be upon them. Yes, upon the Israel of God.
Now, I just want to say to you this, that rule, again, is believing in the finished work of Christ.
From now on, let no one make trouble for me, for I am bearing on my body the brand marks of a slave of Jesus. The undeserved kindness of our Lord Jesus Christ be with the spirit you show, brothers. Amen.
And that's the end of that. So, we've gotten through the book of Galatians. It's been quite a journey, an interesting one, hasn't it? Leave your comments and things. It really helps me to know how we're headed and what people think and what they value and what they don't value. It's 3:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New South Wales, Australia, the 13th of the 8th, 2018. I thank you for listening. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, Theologist. Bye for now. Yeah, Dr. Jason Morrison, Theologist again. I just want to say thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you got plenty of self-rediscovery and freedom out of it. If you watched it on YouTube, please share or like, maybe even comment. If you watched it on Facebook, like, comment, share. But most of all, get out and live. This isn't a rehearsal. You've got a one-off life. Don't let your loyalty and your faithfulness blind you to the life that you should be experiencing. Till the next video, thank you for watching, and bye for now.